So for the week ahead, I'm going to just again repeat what I said so I'm not all mixed up in the chaos. We have Venus is going to sextile Chiron on the 28th. On the 30th, Chiron is going to station retrograde in Aries. We've had Chiron in Aries since February 19th, 2019. So it's been there a while. This retrograde is going to be happening starting this Wednesday and is going to be retrograde until the beginning of next year. So that's joining our other retrograde planets. We have Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto retrograde, and now we are having Chiron join them. Chiron's an asteroid, so it's not as like big, but it's still pretty potent. Also on the 30th, Venus is moving into Cancer. Yippee! It's so wild because Venus and Gemini really only felt like a blip, like a moment. She just kind of cruised through Gemini. I feel like when I spoke about it, it felt like just yesterday, but I know it was just like a month ago, which is very Venus and Gemini feeling, very fast paced. So on the 31st, we will have a Mercury Cazimi, which means the planet Mercury is conjunct the sun. Now Mercury's retrograde, so this is going to have a different feeling to it. And then on Friday, the 1st, I can't believe it's already August almost. On the 1st, Venus will square Saturn and Neptune, which are both retrograde. And yeah, that's the forecast for this week, which I haven't thought too heavily about this week. I really when I was sitting down with it earlier, I started journaling about some of these transits, and I'm kind of excited in a way that's like this is shifting the energetic atmosphere pretty significantly, I would say, especially with Venus moving. For my Venus ruled people, if you're a Taurus rising or a Libra rising, this may feel more significant to you. So what we are looking at, that is today. Let's go ahead and jump ahead to the 28th here. Woo! I'm just not surprised at the technology aspect of this stream. Nothing can surprise me anymore. So we have Venus at 27 degrees of Gemini. We have Chiron at 27 degrees of Aries, and they are forming a sextile. Oof, oof. Another reminder, we still have this sextile happening here too. There's a lot of other aspects happening, but just bringing awareness to the different things. But we're talking about Venus and Chiron sextile. So actually was literally sitting, this is what I do, I sit and journal about these things. I have it propped up here. I feel really old-fashioned and cool, but this is, it's actually kind of cute, the feeling I got. So to kind of add more context to Chiron, because we're going to be diving deeper in, oh guys, I didn't get my drink. Guys, I can't start the stream without my drink. Hold on, I'm gonna go get my drink. Okay, let me get my drink. I'll be right back. Oh my gosh, Diet Dr. Kill. What the hell? No, my elements. What the hell? No, literally I was looking forward to this drink all day. I was like, oh no, you can't have one yet because you're saving your drink for streaming. So silly. So silly. By the way, share my stream with your friends. Yeah. Okay. So about this little sextile here, the little journaling imagery that came up into my mind as I was thinking about this, because like I said, I was going to talk about Chiron a little bit more deeper of the sort of themes that are coming up with Chiron and Aries, especially since 2019 has been really reapproaching how we reparent ourselves and like looking at the inner child. It's been a lot of inner child work. I've seen a lot more verbiage around inner child, like reparenting, come up more significantly in mainstream media. Like it seems like it's around every, like in every show, or like it's more present, the inner child wounds. The sextile, what I wrote, I was like, this is like a little healing spark, firefly moment, sitting out, I see sitting outside with your inner child watching fireflies. Like it felt like this like nighttime, like kind of like sacred space to like have like conversation. This really is like an opportunity to allow words to heal. With Venus and Gemini, it is very healing in the way. Oh, whoa, thanks for the follow, whatever. Appreciate it. Wow, I met my goal. Look at that. Beautiful things happen when you stop streaming on TikTok. Sorry, whatever. Okay, it's fine. So Venus in Gemini is bringing this lightness here. Venus in Gemini kind of brings this sweet tone to Chiron's raw wounds, that who am I wound. So it's kind of this affection meeting that ache of independence. So there's a lot of support here. And the thing that I find very interesting about this transit, it's happening. What are we watching? I'm talking about the astrological forecast coming up for this week. So where the planets are, what they're doing, how that's going to come into play in our life. Appreciate you joining. So the thing that I felt was really interesting about Chiron sextiling Venus here is the fact that 2 days later, Venus moves into Cancer. She's moving quick, like a degree a day. And then Chiron stations retrograde. So they have this like moment. It's kind of the way that it seems like is that like peak, like high tide moment is, and now I'm hearing The Tide is High by, I know the Atomic Kitten version. That's really interesting. That came up. Tide is high, but I'm holding on. The way this feels is it's kind of like this peak moment of like introspection, and it actually feels kind of mystical, I'm not gonna lie, because of the fact that Chiron's gonna retrograde, Venus is gonna continue her path forward, and it's not really gonna be another sextile that we have like this almost pitch perfect singing. I don't know, thanks. This is an aspect of gentle communication. It's like a portal to communicate vulnerability. That really high-pitched surface that Venus and Gemini offers is bringing, it's like softening that sort of, it's making me think about a specific character. What is her name? It's in, I was talking about this TV series earlier, and why can't I think of her name? I want to grab it. Let's see, what is, oh, her name's Max, from the show Ginny and Georgia. You may have seen this meme. Her. So you may have seen her, but it's making me think of her from Ginny and Georgia because she's this kind of character, this sextile preface, like, she is very, very bubbly and almost kind of like ditzy, and that's kind of the energy of Venus and Gemini, is kind of like wants to talk just to talk, but she has like a heart of gold. This transit kind of feels like that, where we're getting the opportunity to allow conversation to be deeply healing. So, you know, there's this opportunity here with this transit to explore, like, how does curiosity become a bridge to intimacy? Can flirtation hold depth? It's kind of this idea of flirting with the edge of healing, and that healing doesn't have to be as serious. That's kind of the invitation of Venus and Gemini, where it's like bringing a lightheartedness to the ache and the wound that Chiron has here about, like, who am I? And it's like, hey, like, it's what a great opportunity. It's kind of the advice I've been giving to people who have found me on my other TikTok, where it's this sort of ground zero that we're at presently, where it's, hey, you know, what if you could look at this ground zero opportunity as a gift to start exploring all these other avenues of identity for yourself? And that feels present to what this sextile is offering. Again, the sextile isn't going to last very long, because you'll watch here as we skip ahead. So again, watching Venus here and watching Chiron here. As I moving ahead, Venus already going forward, and let's go ahead and you'll see the text for Chiron went red, which means it's retrograde. And let's go ahead and shift to hours, so we can see Venus is going to move from 29 degrees to 0 degrees of Cancer. Eventually, there we go. So sextile is a 60-degree angle. So on the 30th, you can see this is later in the evening. So first, on the 30th, Chiron stations retrograde. I prefaced this at the beginning as I went through the different transits and just talking about them. Chiron will be retrograde from July 30th until, I've got written on my paper here, January 2nd. Now again, Chiron has been in Aries since 2019. So retrogrades, as always, are the illusion of a planet, or in this case, an asteroid, seeming as though it's going backwards. I like to think about it in this way, where, you know, when you're like in a parked car in a parking lot and the car next to you goes backwards and it feels like you're kind of going forward, or it's giving the illusion, like, or vice versa, if they go forward it feels like you're going backwards. It's giving this illusionary effect of motion even though it's not changing direction. So that is what retrogrades do. It is the illusion of a planet going backwards from the perspective of Earth, because what we're looking at here on my screen is geocentric, so it's from the perspective of Earth. Never seen that movie. We'll have to watch it. So, as I get comfy cozy back here, this, let's talk about retrogrades, because we've got a lot of planets retrograde. Unless you think I don't want to, like, I don't know if I'll like that movie. You know me. Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. I like it. I'll have to look into that a bit more. So, context here, we're going to talk about retrogrades for a moment. We're going to take a retrograde pause, because we're going to look at all the different things that we have retrograde, and now we've got Chiron here joining these retrogrades. So, whew, lots. So we have Pluto retrograde, we have Saturn and Neptune retrograde, we have Mercury retrograde, and now Chiron's retrograde. So retrogrades. Retrogrades, a lot of astrologers have different perspectives on what retrogrades mean, what they bring up. I always use retrogrades as the opportunity to reflect. And we look at the planet, we look at what sign it's in, and we look at which house it's transiting for us personally to understand that lesson deeper. I'm going to talk about a little bit more of the surface level of that reflection that is being granted here, and then you can take and apply to your chart as you're learning astrology. So Chiron is in Aries. Chiron is our wounded healer, and I feel like I've spoken to Chiron a lot on this channel, but I always like to give more context than, I don't know, maybe an average astrologer. But Chiron is this asteroid, and he carries a wound on him I should be in TV. Thank you. We'll get there someday. I appreciate it. So, looking at Chiron, if you know mythology, Chiron is a satyr. Is he a satyr, or he's a... What are the ones that are like horseman? They're the body of a horse. Centaur. Gosh, man, took me a moment. Centaur. Yeah, thank you. I got there eventually. Like a segment on local news that does astrology. I would love that. I mean, it would be so mind-blowing and baffling to most people to see somebody do something like this on their regular TV. That's why I'm doing it on Twitch. So feel free to send it to people or sign up for my newsletter if you want to stay connected to me and what I'm doing. Everything I talk about here, I write in a written format, so it's almost like you're getting a little newspaper to your inbox. If you want to see my stuff, you can get on my newsletter there or see all my other offerings, getting a reading from me. I do all kinds of stuff. So the beauty of Chiron, and we all have a Chiron within our own natal chart, is Chiron is the wounded healer. He actively heals other people. He heals himself by helping people that have the same wound as him. So have you ever had that experience where, you know, you're helping a friend as they're going through hardship and you realize what you're helping them with is exactly the same wound that you have? And so it's almost like healing by proxy of helping others. Sometimes we don't fully heal the wound, but it's getting closer to it and understanding it more. Right now, at a collective level, everybody is working through this wound of who am I? Awesome. Thanks for the follow on Instagram. I'll be so honest. Instagram is not my favorite platform. I do not post there very often. I'm more consistent on YouTube. So I would say definitely subscribe to my YouTube over there, because Instagram, I'm not really the millennial Instagrammer. I'm not even a millennial, I'll be honest. So aging myself here. So with this retrograde that is happening, we are getting the opportunity to reflect inwards of who am I, right? The inner healing spiral is deepening inwards. This retrograde calls forward old wounds that are looking to be reviewed. I am ancient. These are wounds around independence, identity, self-trust, with Chiron and Aries here. This really is a tunneling inwards, and this whole, and it's so hard to talk about one singular aspect of astrology when all of this is going on. This is a whole picture that we're getting painted here because of the fact that we have 4 other planets retrograde too. So from now until next year is truly a review cycle. Like, you may have felt like the last few months, like from, I'd say, June to end of May into beginning of July, kind of felt like life was drastically changing. And now we're kind of shifting back into our previous identity and kind of really looking at like, who am I? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to be? What needs to be shed in order for me to actually step fully into this life that I'm desiring? And I feel like a broken record saying that, but that really is the energy that is present with the astrology. Like, I'm looking at it here on my screen with all these retrogrades. Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius. It's not going to leave Aquarius. It's fully in Aquarius now. So we're getting this sort of going inwards on that aspect. Then we have Saturn and Neptune that are in Aries here, retrograding back into Pisces, which is really bringing us into these finalizations of our spiritual practices, this deepening, this. So for those of you who haven't like created like daily practices or like a way to connect to yourself, this is the time. This is the review process. Mercury is retrograde in Leo, and we'll talk about that when we talk about the conjunction that's coming up, but it really is a massive reviewing process. Chiron in Aries is asking us to review our wounds around our identity. Like, why can't I... It's already been coming up for me personally, of like, why do I feel these things? What are the reasons that I feel I'm not worthy of X, Y, and Z? There's been a lot that's come up with a lot of worth wounds that come up with identity here. And also, like, who do you want to be and what's standing in the way? There's a lot of like removing old patterns, removing old paradigms, removing old stories that keep us locked into a false identity, right? So that's Chiron retrograde that's going to be happening. So that's going to be almost a 6-month long review process with all these other planets here. Then we have Venus moving into Cancer, which is really lovely. Love her. I love when Venus is in water signs. There's just nothing better than that. I'm biased because my Venus is in Pisces. Venus shifts into Cancer, and suddenly, you know, Venus represents our values, represents beauty, represents how we give and receive love. Think of Aphrodite if you're familiar with Greek mythology. This is bringing in like craving safety and tenderness and emotional attunement. There's a softening here in the heart. Like there's this deep like softening and need for like, almost feels like becoming like a sponge and like really moving into that space of like receptivity of like emotional nurturing here. You may find yourself to be, especially if you're ruled by Venus, which means if you're a Libra rising or a Taurus rising, you might feel a little bit more tender and like longing for emotional fulfillment. Think of like, it's giving like, I wanted to say like 3 of Cups, and then I was like, maybe 2 of Cups. No, it's giving like Ace of Cups, which is like fulfilling, like that emotional fulfillment. This day, the 30th here, is the start of a new emotional storyline within relationships, right? From light banter to deep nourishment, because Venus shifting from an air sign, Gemini, which is all about like flirting and enjoying the banter of conversation and intellectual stimuli, into like this deeper, like, I want to be held, I want to, you know, be nourished in love, I want to have good food, I want to like be in deep emotional pleasure with those I'm in partnership with, or my friends. It's like really deeply nourishing. And I'm immediately thinking about my bonus sister Lexi, who is a Cancer sun, and she's got a lot of heavy emphasis of Cancer in her chart. And when I think of Venus in Cancer, I think of her, and she's just like, she's a mother. She's deeply kind to all her friends. She just has this way of being in tune that is so magical. And that's definitely this Venus in aged like fine wine. Yeah. I love when you flirt with me. It's great. It's fueling me. It's why I'm aging like fine wine. There's the other end of Venus in Cancer where it's like, be aware that you're going to be a little bit more emotionally sensitive. I'm going to be so honest. There's going to be a lot of sensitivity here. Cancer is the first water sign, and they tend to be a little bit more focused on their identity within their emotions. It's I-centered, like I feel sign. So, you know, there may also be a desire to retreat more, to hide more. That's that Cancer energy of like, I just want to stay in my shell where it's safe. There's also a revisitation of love and like how we received love as children. So Cancer tends to bring in those old family dynamics and like what that looked like, and that's different for everybody. So think about Venus shifting into Cancer as like going from like a summer party into like a warm kitchen, like that sort of like very quick dynamic, like you're at like a pool party, and then suddenly you go inside and it just the entire dynamic shifts. So very fun, very fun. Let's jump into boom. Wow. Mercury is moving so freaking quick. I literally only moved 24 hours and already jumped 2 degrees. So on the 31st, we have a Mercury Cazimi. Okay, so a Cazimi is whenever a planet is conjunct the sun. So it amplifies the energy. It illuminates the energy tenfold. Now, what's interesting about this Mercury Cazimi is the fact that Mercury is retrograde. So it's going in this opposite direction that we normally don't see. Well, we see 3 times a year. Mercury retrogrades pretty frequently. So this is something that we do see pretty often, but it is a very different dynamic. So this is sort of like the eye of the storm of this retrograde. So it's almost like the things that are coming up within this Mercury retrograde are going to have a bit more of a front and centered energy. Something that I want to bring up about this Mercury retrograde in Leo, the epitome of this energy is that CEO cheating on his wife being publicized everywhere. And the way his ex-wife handled it was like that power in that statement. Like that's this Mercury retrograde. It's like things being blown up front and center in a very public way. It doesn't have to be personally public, but it is this sort of like really big energy that like things are being seen, and how you navigate those bigger illumination moments. That's the work that comes in. So a lot of my messaging from last week is applying to this week with like the sun moving into Leo, this Leo energy. That new moon that we had in Leo was so profound. And this is a continuation of that energy of like removing the mask, right? That's something that we spoke a lot about in this new moon in Leo that just happened. This is, you know, looking at this is who I am. This is what I love. This is my voice. Like this is like really honing in on the truth of your tone. The sun here can grant a moment of clarity also, especially if the mental realm has been a little bit chaotic. It's been a little like jumbled, especially if you're ruled by Mercury. So for my Virgo risings or my Gemini risings, it might have been a little bit crunchy in that regard. So you know, this can be, this insight that can come from this Cazimi might come from reflection or revisiting old ideas, or there's an interesting dynamic with Uranus being in Gemini as well, because a lot of the like insights that are coming in are more directed through Uranus and Gemini. And I'm saying that because I was thinking about the fast downloads that have been coming in for me personally, and that's less Gemini, more Uranus. So that's just a random sidebar that decided to come up. This feels like this Cazimi is just like a moment, just so you know. It's like literally Mercury's moving so quick. So there might just be a moment of clarity that comes in on this day, on the 31st, of like clarity around your identity out on the public stage, or like who you want to be, or those sort of ideas that you've been having like come up. You might get a moment of clarity with this. So, you know, this is your opportunity to think about like, what is your inner child revealing about your true creative expression or your desire to be seen? Like, what do you want to be seen in? What is it that you want to do? Like, I've had these moments of reflection personally in the last couple days, and it's like, yeah, what is it? Like, what is it that, like, what's the kind of message or legacy that wants to be left behind? And that's kind of that big Leo energy that's coming up here. So, you know, this is one of those moments to speak from your heart. Even if it's messy, Mercury retrograde tends to have a less, je ne sais quoi to it. So, it can be messy. So just be aware of that. So on I'm gonna jump back a couple hours, and we're gonna jump ahead a day now. On the 1st, the last transit I'm gonna talk about, yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. Looks like this might be, yeah, okay. So on the 1st, so August 1st, I kind of tie these transits together because of the fact that Saturn and Neptune are conjunct in Aries, both retrograde, and we have a square happening to our now shifted Venus in Cancer. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for Venus to be conjunct Jupiter. You guys have no idea. So, anyways. Boom. Okay, so Venus just freshly moved into Cancer, is squaring Saturn and Neptune. And this is it's like a reality check, I'll be so honest, because Venus, we've had a lot of this. This feels like a revisitation of some of those transits that were coming up during Cancer season. So at the beginning of Cancer season, which was the June 21st. Yeah. Wow. Why does that feel so long ago? Summer solstice. Hi. You think I'm wearing pants right now? Sorry, I'm being silly. He pictured, she's asking to see my butt. You have to ask my boyfriend. I saw him. Oh no. Oh no. Anyways, I'm getting all blushy. I didn't think it was gonna get it would go in this direction. So this Venus squaring Saturn and Neptune here, it's bringing up, so summer solstice, which was June 21st, that's when the sun was in Cancer, and it was having this same square moment. And I believe that wasn't, let's look at this, because I want to actually take a peek at this. Let's go ahead and look at the 21st of... Oh, what? Okay, hold up. I hate when it does this. You missed quite a bit. I've been live for an hour. You missed TikTok really struggling to let me stream. TikTok wouldn't, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's what... Okay, so I just went back to the 21st of June because it's really bringing up a very similar moment that we had here, because we had the sun and Jupiter conjunct in Cancer, 1st degrees of Cancer, creating this square to Saturn and Neptune as well. So it's kind of giving kind of a reflection on this. Okay, so if we jump back to August, boop, Earthing, yeah, no, literally everything's retrograde. My brain's retrograde. So then we have this sextile that's happening here with Venus now in Cancer. Chiron is not leaving Aries. Chiron's just retrograding in Aries. It's okay. He's doing his best. He's learning. I'm so proud of him. He's trying. That's what counts. So this is kind of a reality check, I'm not gonna lie. So I want you to think back to June 21st and things that could have surfaced at those time. It's like reality check meets like romantic ideal. So Venus in Cancer wants soft security, and Saturn and Neptune in Aries demand accountability to the self, right? So there might be tension between like emotional longing versus the actual structures of our relationships, or of our sort of, because we're all collectively going through a restructuring of our identity and our spirituality. That's what's been going on with this Saturn and Neptune energy down here. I know, and because of our community and everybody, we're all really coming face to face with, what do I believe? Does that fit with my life that I'm wanting to have? And it's really, and now that they're retrograde, it's like this review moment where we're kind of like looking through old closets and clearing things out and whatnot. And this Venus in Cancer, this square here, is kind of like, she's kind of uncomfortable with the process of the reviewing because she just wants to be comfy, but we have to get uncomfortable sometimes. There's this need for like really allowing, squares are just tension points, and a lot of people will run with squares and be like, it's this or that, and that's oppositions. Oppositions kind of give that like polarity of like, how do you find the balance between the two? All squares do is create tension points for us to grow. And so Venus in Cancer here wants to be deeply nurtured and like feel soft and feel I just keep seeing a sponge in my mind, and so like squishy. There could be this clash between like, you know, Venus in Cancer kind of has this fantasy around like how the thing about Cancer energy is they deeply prioritize how they feel. It's almost as though any of the first 4 zodiac signs, and this is not to like hurt anybody's feelings. Hi, I'm a Taurus. Like, I'm one of the first signs. So Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer, the archetypal lessons of those 4 signs, the first 4, they're here for the first experience of those expressions. So if you're an Aries, it's who am I? You are deeply looking at your identity this life. For Tauruses, you're looking at, how do I embody myself in the world? It is about the self. For Geminis, it's how do I communicate in the world? For Cancers, it's how do I feel? So Venus in Cancer is really bringing in this, like, my feelings are the most important thing. And your feelings are coming to the forefront here with this restructuring. And they're like, wait, but like, I don't feel good about this. Like, this doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to feel good. It's not supposed to feel good to dismantle everything that you've believed in and like go through all the hard stuff, but it's important. Yeah. And it's like, it's not supposed to feel good, guys. It's not always sunshine and rainbows. And that's why people come to me for astrology readings or for any of my readings, because I'm not here to like sugarcoat shit for you. Like this is going to be an uncomfortable moment between like our emotional desires and our desire to rebuild ourselves. So it's like a clash between fantasy and fact, craving comfort and needing freedom. Like those both are so real. So how can we just witness both of them? And I think that's something that we get really, really stuck in, of you have to have an answer. You don't. You can sit with that 2 things can be true at once. That you know, recognize that love doesn't necessarily mean safety, but love can be clarity. It can be the thing that you use to wipe the mirror clean, right? Yeah, live in the gray area. Yeah, definitely. It's like there's so many different ways to be in this world. Love is tragedy. Let's go. So yeah, you know, at the end of this week, there's those sort of tension points of like, you might be a little uncomfortable, and that's okay. There's gonna be growth that comes from that sort of like tension that comes up in the heart, especially it's Venus and Cancer. It's definitely gonna be heart-oriented crunchiness, but it's going to help clear the path for those foundational pieces. It's gonna help. And I mean, I'm just gonna like give you guys a heads up that Venus and Jupiter are going to be conjunct in a couple weeks, and it's all going to be worth it. I'm just saying it's all going to be worth it, because that conjunction is going to be very beautiful and rewarding, especially for me. I'm so excited. But take the invitations of these transits. Again, to preface, like, we have now 5 different astrological bodies retrograde now. So lots of review. So I want you guys to see, like, genuinely the next 6 months as you're in the cocoon. Your metaphorical goo. Your metaphorical goo. There's nothing, you don't have to make decisions as metaphorical goo. You don't have to, like, be somebody. You don't have to, like, just let yourself be in the state of goo. Sorry, my analogies are not crisp right now, but that's all I can, like, think of right now is, like, you literally, there's nothing you can do. You don't have a body in the chrysalis. You don't have any, you can't grab hold of anything. You just have to witness. Yeah, no, seriously, these retrogrades are so potent. Genuinely, my practices each morning have been so deeply reflective. It's been a while since I've had such, like, visual journeys that I've been having lately. Like, they've been deeply visual and, like, just so reflective. So, you know, like, lots of things to think about with these retrogrades. It's like you have a bunch of Play-Doh and there's no pressure or time crunch. You just kind of experiment. Yeah, exactly. And just start over. Like, and there's so much permission that comes when you work with kids. That's one of the reasons I love working with kids is they're radically honest. They will tell you if they don't like your outfit or if they think you're fat. They will tell you. Love that about kids. My favorite is, like, when they'd ask me about my tattoos, like, why? When I got my nose pierced, why? Did it hurt? What was it like? You know, just wanting to know. And, like, that's the opportunity of these retrogrades is curiosity. Sitting with children really allows you the patience and the understanding of, like, they're literally living so presently in every moment. I was talking to Tinglet about this, I don't even know, we talk all the time, so we're always talking. So I was talking about the, I totally lost my train of thought. What was it? Oh, my mom had asked me, like, how are you doing? And I was like, I've just been so present that even, like, what could be happening in the past 24 hours, I'm like, I'm not even attached to what that was. Just here now, just taking the steps now. So, you know, this is kind of I just saw the time for this session. It was 1 hour, 11 minutes, 11 seconds. 11111. Nice. You know, there's this invitation here of, like, what have you been skating on the surface of out of self-protection, right? And what would it look like for you to soften into the truth, even if it's uncomfortable? You know, like, being able to let yourself sink into the tenderness of the pain. It's sort of like, I think of, like, putting Neosporin on not even Neosporin, but, like, hydrogen peroxide, that process. It hurts, but you know things are getting cleaned, right? This is kind of a week where the heart and the wound kind of are being present here, where Mercury retrograde is going to have a moment of insight when it conjuncts the sun. It's going to give us like a, you know, just a flash of clarity. And then, you know, we're going to recognize when Venus squares Saturn and Neptune, kind of those tensions of the uncomfortability of building yourself anew. And also, how can you allow yourself to be comfortable or nurture yourself? I wouldn't even say comfortable. It's just finding ways to nurture yourself as things change and move.